Yes, and we are back, and it is the first week of Women's Herstory Month. This is when you think you have it perfectly planned, and then the universe will show you that your plans don't mean anything. It's when people tell you, okay, you can go with that, but remember, God has jokes. Remember, the goddess is always able to pull the last joke. So, as it turned out, with all those wheels of getting our launch live, and that stepping back a week, it pushed this back a week. And for me, it's just right on time, because when we first put this forward as one of the events we would do in this Wild Darlings Sings the Blues Kickstarter campaign, I said, no, I really kind of want it to be in February, and we'll just think of something more powerful by March. And so it winds up that this blended so well. And how well did it go that even next week, after you have met all the darlings and talked to us again for this evening, then you're going to meet the Wild Darlings production team. So see, as we said, it just rolls over into March. Ladies, welcome to the room. My gosh, are we bursting over with excitement? That's like the first thing I want to hear. I want to hear from every darling present, like, wow, what does it say to you that we are not even 7 days in? And to hear Flora tell it, we are 33% and rising in our Kickstarter campaign. Funds just coming in. So yeah, anybody just jump right in. Good evening to you. Welcome. Hey, Nia. Hey, Timmy. Grammy is straining now. She thought she'd have y'all on the big parts of her laptop, but it didn't work out that way. Here we are on the phone. What up, Dewberry? I know, girl. Somebody tell me something. What we working with? We knew we had a lot of funds pledged up ahead of time, but the fact that people are just really picking it up, and I don't know how it's all going to break down, but I see as many shares as soon as I share our flyer or our event. Like, a lot of my friends are picking it up and sharing it and really getting the word out in the community. So, hey, I'm going to close my mic, because that seems like when you all start talking, when I actually mute myself, and I will. And then anybody can jump in.
Hey, well, I feel like it's a really exciting opportunity anytime we get to share space together, the darlings, and the extended community that keeps growing beyond that is just like made up of so many beautiful, wonderful people. I'm excited to see it grow some more. Thanks for being here.
I think you're on mute still, Sangoma.
Hilarious. I was on mute. Okay, I was saying, if all the darlings would come in and share and introduce themselves. I see my good friend Lisa Donahue, who I also want to personally, well, actually, she's already met Nova because she dropped me off at her house, but she hasn't met the rest of you, and she's very interested in this project, and we're so glad to have her. So darlings, come on in and give us some feedback on this almost 17,000. I don't know. Maybe Flora can catch us up. She checks every hour.
Hi everyone. My name is Timmy Larode, and I'm so excited to see where the fundraiser is going. And I'm so blessed to be a part of the team, and so great to meet you, Lisa. I am leading the shamanic meditation on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So if you're free, please come join us from 4 to 5 p.m. But we can send you more details on that. But yes, I'm so excited for the fundraiser. I'm so excited to see where everything is going with the darlings. So thank you.
And Timmy, are you still in Puerto Rico? Did you have a fabulous February 26th? I mean, you know, we launched on our birthday. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking, but like I'm thinking,
Yes, I'm
no.
still here. I will be back on Friday.
Awesome.
Yes, enjoying Puerto Rico still. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually leaving the West Coast this coming Tuesday, Monday. So yeah, so time's up and back to get over to that site. Hey Nia, how are you doing, girl? We were sending you all kinds of warmth and love and good vibes all through that Texas thing. Lisa Donahue is also in Texas, so we were sending her some of the same energy so that you guys would be good.
Thank you so much. I felt the love and all the warmth from everyone sending it. It was a trying time. And Lisa, I hope you're doing well. And nice to meet you. um, my name's Nia, by the way, and I am rather new to the Darlings compared to everyone else, and really grateful to be here. And it's such an exciting time, like everyone's saying, to know that we have so much support already, because we really believe in the mission of this project and the power in collective healing. Um, I am a poet, musician, dancer, manifester, witchcraft person, animal lover, nature lover. um, yeah, and I'm excited to be here, and it's good to see y'all.
It's good to see you too, Nia. We're so glad you're here. Hey, you know, Flora, as Nia was talking, and we're going to get to our poetry slam in a minute. We're going to give that some promote too, because I'm really looking forward to it. You're checking in like pretty regularly, and I keep wondering, can we tell when we go inside the Kickstarter, like which one of our rewards or our perks or our giveaways have actually been checked off the list? Somebody's donated and gotten those rewards.
That's a great question. I can go into the project and look at the reward survey and see who has what. I do know off the top of my head, my youngest sister got a divination reward with you, Sangoma. She was like, it was so great because she was like trying to donate and she was like, oh, I've never done anything like this. And I was like, girl, just go, just put your name in, put that, because she was going to donate. And I was like, I highly recommend it. Sangoma is amazing. And this divination call with her would be amazing. So I know she's one of them, my youngest sister.
Right.
But let's see. I can find out for sure.
I'm really looking forward to it. What's her name? And just give her my phone number. You know, that 6 of Wands hit back. Did you see where I put that in the chat today? Something happened and we couldn't really explain it. And I was like, there's that 6 of Wands. It was just, you know, because remember I was saying to you, it comes through the communication system. I don't know. I wish I could look back in the chat. But everyone is aware that our girl Flora here is pulling a tarot card every day in Instagram just to see what the vibe is for Wild Darlings, which I think is great. Yeah. And let's see who else is here. Danae, are you ready to come in and introduce yourself? And then I think I'd like Lisa to just come in and tell us, you know, some of her interest in even being here with us to honor her presence here with us this evening. What brings her to the Wild Darlings community?
Good evening, everyone. How are you guys doing today?
You didn't have your picture up, so I don't know if you're ready.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I can't take my camera off right now just yet because I'm not fully dressed. I'm working on that. I had a long day. I've been running around like crazy. And I've been Sangoma. Things have been going. They've been going for me, as we discussed before, and they are happening. So I was very busy today. But in regards to me, my name's Danae. I'm an artist. I've been a part of the Wild Darlings for a little bit now also. I'm super excited about what is happening in regards to the campaign. I am very excited. I was very excited about like the footage that they put out in order to get the funds going, because I think it was beautiful, a beautiful display of everything that we are trying to work towards in terms of community. I'm a visual artist. I go by Art School Scammer. I've shown around the country, and I'm currently in Brooklyn, New York. I'm not sure what else I should share, but I'm
That
really
is so
excited.
good, and I'm so glad things are really going good for you, Danae. I
Yes.
knew, like, somehow or another, the week you were on, and we were able to show your textiles and just a little gonna pick it. But yes, I agree with you. And Lisa, I hope that you have seen the video inside Kickstarter, because hands down, we all agree that it is the best trailer. It is the best representation of our work out there. And Flora Tejada, yeah, Next Round Productions, on this call with you is the girl that edited that majorly beautiful piece of work. I know. Majorly beautiful. Like, I would watch it again myself, just because I just really thought it was well done. So Lisa, tell us a little bit about what brings you to the Wild Darlings community.
Well, thank you, Sangoma. Thanks, everyone. It's amazing. I want to figure out how to move the little squares around, because I want to be surrounded by the beauty that I'm seeing. I'm kind of on the edge right now, and I kind of would like to be surrounded by y'all, but I don't know how to do that. I'm here because, honestly, I would support pretty much anything Sangoma's putting out in the world. If she said, I'm going to join the circus, I'd be right there with her. And I have a really strong belief in the need, the human need to make beauty, to make art, to make our world more beautiful. As expressions of ourselves, and as I think Martine Prechtel tells us that the Mayans believe that we're born with a spiritual debt, which can be repaid by making beauty. And so I'm all about that balance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad to have you here for a couple of reasons. And as I was thinking, what was the Six of Wands? It was the update on the short film, which I'm gonna come back to Flora in a minute and have her give us a lot of updates that are going on in and around the campaign, because she's able to kind of keep that order. But Lisa, you and I are the people that are from a generation that wouldn't even have opened a door for a project like this. And, you know, I'll be very, very honest, very candid with that, that it wouldn't have, just like there were backroom abortions and things that went on in the time that we came up. Childhood sexual trauma, emotional trauma, incest, all types of things like that. You just never even heard about it, like not even in a slight whisper. And I think that I was grown with daughters of my own. In fact, I know exactly when my middle daughter was expecting her first child, and we were out in South Carolina, somewhere in the vicinity of either my ancestral home or Oyatunji. And because we wanted her to continue her education, hello, Lisa, listen to me. We didn't have no pregnant girls going to no public school, and definitely not no Black ones. So they had all these young Black girls of color who already had just had a baby or were expecting a baby, out called at a place called St. Mary's something. And there, which wasn't a bad idea, actually. I mean, it was set up nice enough, you know what I mean? They had nice space for the toddlers and the infants and stuff, good space where, you know, the girls could get their studies and things. But the fact that it was implied and in your face that these young women were shamed, and because this place is way out, like at the end of some road, you had to have a map and know somebody to get there, okay? It's way tucked out in the woods. Let's not talk about them. Let's keep them out there, them and their babies. And, you know, to meet girls at that time who had had children by an uncle or a grandfather or was so startling to my mind. I like maybe somewhere in a book that I could read about rape or things like that happen, but to actually meet one-on-one any of these young women is, to say, the personal fulfillment for sure for me. I feel at my age to be a part of a project like this, where and again, not even that the victimhood is on display, because I really think when people come to our film and see our work, the fact that we have created the healing collective, the part of us that is healing within us as the focus of the whole film project, is just really, really exciting. So I guess I just wanted to open that door and say, do you have that same feeling that this type of project coming forward does something for the many, many, many thousands of women that you and I probably have known over our lifetimes that didn't have an opportunity like this?
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Yeah. And it gives us pause to wonder. And I know, even though we've had some really good chats, and in case you know, it's going to be, and for other people watching or that come in late, these are all going up on our YouTube channel. So you can look back at them if you missed any of the introductions of a particular darling and what gifts or rewards are available to you with a donation in our Kickstarter campaign, which is over, by the way, on the 26th of March. So now that we're in it and running, we see Coyote out there somewhere, Cole, all bundled up. Hey, girl, you got to come in and introduce yourself. Everybody else got to introduce themselves.
Good evening, or I don't know where everyone might be in different places, but good evening. I'm on New York Ave in Crown Heights right now, walking home from the train. I'm Coyote. Nice to meet you, Lisa, and everyone else I know. Good to be here. I'm swiping.
Girl, are you excited about that 17 grand already in there?
Oh, baby. I'm flowing.
So amazing.
Flowing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's invigorating. I feel, yeah.
And we don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse. I mean, it is in our faces, and I want to get that across in each of us as we begin to share, particularly over these next 10 days, which they say, you have that burst of energy at the beginning, and then you slow down in the middle, and then you got to rear up the end. Because with Kickstarter, it's all or nothing. And so that means we do not just achieve $49,999. We actually really have to hit that $50,000 goal. And we have every confidence by those who have wanted to donate, not come in yet. Amazing events still to come, like our poetry slam, Timmy's shamanic drumming journey. I think we have a couple of more webinar and podcasts that are just amazing conversations. And I think we're going to reach it. But here's a question now that I kind of had that little chitty chat with Lisa, that I don't think I've asked any of you personally in your interviews or collectively yet, that I'd really like to know. And that is, when you think of the role you're playing in the film or your part in this project, do you think of other darling friends not in this project, just that you have passed by through life, or maybe not, you read about it or don't even know them personally? But so the question I'm asking is, how do you feel our project will take forward and move forward the voices that have been silenced, both women of color in the queer community or anywhere? I just think it's giving voice. I feel an engine opening up, that voices are heard where they weren't heard a minute ago. It just is like, who knew, right? Have y'all seen Billie Holiday, The United States versus Billie Holiday? I'm a Billie Holiday fan. Here we are 50 some years later. Who knew we all just thought she became an addict on her own. Well, watch the movie. You know, so you think we'll have that kind of effect, Nia? What do you think? You look kind of perked up, so I think probably you wanted to answer that.
I was really just reacting to the idea that we're all, I don't know, just societal conditioning, what we think about people that we think we know a lot about, like Billie Holiday. So I'm guessing the government or whoever else got her hooked on.
Yeah, they couldn't take the threat. You
Or,
see, here's the thing, and you just never know what you'll learn in 2021. Number one was that her whole case was built on the offense of the song Strange Fruit, which was about Black bodies hanging from trees. And then you had the pile of people that didn't even know that. Like, they liked the song, but they didn't even have an idea that the Strange Fruit was talking about the lynchings of Black people. And so it was a big to-do, like when Prince changed his name to, the artist formerly known as. That she came out with this song and they were like, no, you can't sing that song. And so a whole censorship ensued. And, kind of, she had a stern spirit before they drugged it down that said, no, actually I can sing the song and I will. And so censorship is a interesting thing. Like, if they find that you can move around censorship and the little juke joint down in the country, don't nobody know or hear you or whatever, they figure, well, this Negro is a little more dangerous. We're going to have to give her some behavior recorrection. And then that's when they send in the agents who become whatever, your agent, your boyfriend, your whoever is around you that can pass you the drugs. So, yeah, I have to watch it again. It's mind-blowing. And so, I know you're new to the project. We have kind of touched in and danced a little bit in each other's stories in terms of how we want to bring this story of healing and liberation really to the world, that darlings will not remain caged like a Maya Angelou with the cage door open. They won't do that. That somehow this movie, this work, this project will inspire them to leave the cage that was built by themselves, their families, hard times. I know that book is sitting right here. Look. We must all be on it. Oh,
I love that book.
Right? And I showed up here with the book, and the other priestess in the house who was on the first Meet the Darlings with us, she showed up with her Women Run with the Wolves. I'm saying, no, little message right there.
It's for sure in the Wild Darlings library.
Oh yeah, baby. Shoot.
We really should have a Wild Darlings library. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Or at least a reading list. That's a good idea.
I love that idea.
I could recommend.
I love
so
that.
Yeah, anybody really feel that impression? I know Flora spoke to it a little bit last week.
I definitely do. I mean, and it's just, I was talking with some people. I had the honor of being invited into a shroom ceremony on Saturday, which is smack dab. So Saturday was 27th. The last time I saw my dad was last year on the 26th of February, and then he passed away on the 28th. So I was in the journey, right in that realm. And right before the journey, I was talking with some of the folks that I journeyed with. We were talking about other trips that we've had, and I was mentioning from the 4 agreements, the domestication of human beings and how we domesticate each other. Our parents do, not knowing that they too are domesticated. So for me, and like where I'm at in the Women Who Run with the Wolves, for me, like everyone has a wild within them that they are suppressing. And I know that the work that we're doing, I feel that 100%. People that I don't even know. And then for my dad, even for my best friend who passed away last year, who's a brilliant soul, amazing writer. Yeah, and a lot of what I do and having the courage to keep going not only comes from you all and different tribes that I'm a part of, but also, you know, being like, shit, I'm doing it for them. Like, Hayden's voice doesn't get to be heard right now, you know? And so much of my voice is hers. I grew up with her since I was like 7 years old. So, and she's a white woman, you know, white woman. Like, it doesn't, not that it doesn't matter, it matters so much, you know? So it's like there's all different beings who, you know, feel suppressed. And I think that just being an example of not only letting it out, but like sharing that at one point we didn't, and now we're allowing ourselves to, is really important to me. Because I don't know, I feel like there was a part of me that really wondered, like, will I ever stop hiding? Like, there was a part of me, but then there was a little part of me that was like, that just maybe knew otherwise. And it's really inspiring to, you know, just when I began, when I began with this group and hearing Nova share so boldly about like her past traumas and, you know, sexual abuse, I was like, wow, I don't have to, I can share about this in a way that's not so, I don't know, like shameful or fragile. Like, I can talk about this. It doesn't have to be something that's, you know, hush hush. And just like, in all the different ways that I understand the impact of just my life and sharing like my experiences, it's really profound. And in a way it's simple, and in a way it's a lot of work. But to have that balance of two ends, it feels really good, you know. And it makes, strangely, it makes like everything that I've been through like more grounded. You know, because there's certain things where you're like, oh, I don't know, you revisit and it's painful. But to really know, like, we're not alone, and there's other people that are feeling what we're feeling, and we have space to feel everything that we're feeling. Yeah, so absolutely to what you said, grandmother.
Yeah.
It's like, it's what helps me keep going when I fall into little pits of like apathy. I'm like, oh, well, who cares? It's like, yeah, that's an okay thought to have too. And now let's see what else is there, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. I think the work we do in general as quote unquote healers, or those who don't mind sharing our healing in progress with other people, is when people's lives are broken for whatever reason, it is, I think, of a great benefit to them to have a visual or an inspiration or something that moves them to say, I can pick up the puzzle pieces. I can put the puzzle back together again. I am not permanently broken. And so that's a real big piece. I saw it come out of, it certainly is present in the video. Again, we were just talking about in the Kickstarter campaign. And I think at the very least, a bunch of things are going to come out of our road trip, and, you know, the time on the plantation and where we're going in the culmination of this project. But at the very least, I think it is a work that speaks to what happens, you know, if the puzzle table gets kicked over and pieces of your life fly everywhere, and how overwhelming that can seem at times to pick up all the pieces and get them in order and put them together again. And I know at a point I was thinking about the other day, because I grew up doing puzzles with my grandmother. It was her personal love, always. And I mean puzzles. I mean like 5,000 circular and the intense kind. And at one point in my life, And sometimes this happens for people when they get in a 9-year and there's a lot of loose ends, unfinished business, things dangling from the last 8 years of their life. And they can't seem to close things out and bring closure to various parts of things so that they have the ability to move on. It is that about putting the puzzle pieces together. And so there was a time when I had like 3 puzzles going at one time in my house because my ancestors were in my ear. They're like, really? You want to put the puzzle pieces of life together? Why not just lay out a puzzle and spend time? Because one thing about doing a puzzle, like you don't do a puzzle and be on the phone and do this and do the other. If you're going to do a puzzle and put those pieces together, focus, like you are totally focused in on the shapes and the knobs and the colors and how they fit together. And yeah, we haven't yet talked to Nova, who maybe is here by now, the director, in terms of taking the pieces really of what's in her mind, which she's putting together from her own story, and looking at all the pieces of our lives and seeing how that puzzle goes together. And I'm just beginning to get excited. I really am. And I think spring is coming. And, you know, on our production call today, we were actually really talking about the location. We are now getting down to choosing which plantation that we're going to. And I could put that out there as a topic. I mean, you know, we're talking about, I think, shooting now, like, I think Flor said to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Flor, like it is the fall equinox, at least, that we're aiming for. And I know, what was it, yesterday, day before, that, you know, Mississippi was one of 2 states that kind of just said, oh, well, why don't we open up 100%? Who needs to wear a mask? Don't you people get worried at all? We've got 7% vaccinations happening. And even though our numbers are going up of COVID, we just think it's time to get back to work now. Does anybody have any concerns on that end, that we'll be free and clear to do our work come this fall in Mississippi?
Well, I think that, you know, I think the next 3 months is going to be very telling of how it's going to progress with COVID, and how, you know, obviously from state to state, things are going to be different. And here in New York, for example, where the production team is operating off of, the restrictions are still very much there. So my job as a producer is definitely to put everyone's safety first above everything else. And so that's definitely something that, as we're having conversations, that we definitely on the producer side have to like keep on top of constantly. And so I've been in communication with the Mississippi Film Commission. Todd's been in communication with the Virginia Film Commission. And so those are definitely conversations that we will have with the people that are going to be getting us in contact with the owners of these properties. I think the good thing about us, though, is that we'll definitely be having a COVID compliance safety officer on set. That person's sole job is to make sure that people are tested. I definitely want to have the ability for all of us to, before we leave the state, before we head to wherever we're going, to have the proper testing available for people. And once we get to site, having testing available there, obviously PPE. The good thing is also that we'll be filming for the most part outside. And so that's also an additional safety measure. And truthfully, most of the crew will be traveling with us from New York. So we're not actually going to be hiring too many personnel from Mississippi or from Virginia proper. We'll probably be utilizing them for resources like catering and like renting equipment and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're able to keep things local because we'll want to have the proper production meetings prior to getting on the road, literally. So it's one of those things that it's definitely been a challenge, I think, for all productions to navigate how do you shoot safely during a pandemic. I 100% trust that we will be able to do it, especially because we'll be a small crew, we'll be a tight-knit family of sorts that we're all looking out for each other. I think the good thing about Wild Darlings, and not just the darlings themselves, but all the people that we work with, there is a culture of respect and kindness and responsibility. And so there's a real network of trust, I think. And that's something that is very clear even for like the people that we want to work with distribution. Like you've met Jordan, for example, or, you know, our investors. Like we don't want to just accept anyone's money because for all we know, it could be bad, dirty money, right? We want like things that energetically align and things that have everyone's best interests. And so even with conversations with crew and anyone we hire, the safety of everyone is of the most important thing. And so that's definitely part of our job as producers, is to ensure that with everyone we hire, and also that all the guidelines that we have to enforce on set is mindful of that. My hope is that we'll all be able to have on-site testing, and that we'll be able to create the bubble, since we won't be leaving the plantation. We're going to all be staying there, lodging there, and exiting together. And so to have on-site testing and like a full staff that is capable of doing that is going to be super helpful, so that, you know, we're able to quarantine beforehand, get tested, stay in our bubble, have all the sanitizing and all those things, or temperature checks for anyone that comes onto set. Because again, I'm assuming we'll have to hire, like our caterers will be local and stuff like that. So to be able to test them every day and have those tests available is going to be super important.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like we're ahead of the game enough where that bubble is forming for us. I totally get that. I mean, we're going to be that much closer to herd immunity for number one. I was excited when I heard today that it is not necessarily a public plantation to which tours or a lot of people traffic through. These are private properties. And so I really think that bubble, you know, but I'm thankful you went over that piece for any concerns that the darlings might have. But I do think we will create a very good safety bubble, you know, moving forward.
It'll definitely be a closed set. It won't be open to a public. That's like top priority for me, especially because I'm like, you know, first of all, the plantations that are having like parties and weddings at are not like the plantations I want us even looking at, right? Like this is just, it feels odd to me to kind of use that kind of land for those kinds of purposes. I understand like museums and like historical exhibits, but when it comes to plantations that I've researched and it's like people that have weddings there, it feels like very off to me. So a lot of the lands that we're looking at are just like farm plantations that are for the most part not being used for anything specific. So it would be to rent the space so that it's a closed set for the whole week that we're there.
Yeah. And you know, one of the most obvious questions, it kind of be for you or Nova, is I mean, I think we all know, but again, for the people that are watching and that may come along and say, well, you know, what's the big deal about them filming the end of this on a plantation? What's the big deal about us filming on a plantation floor as opposed to anywhere else in America?
Do you want me to answer that?
I do want you to answer it. I think you're best capable to answer it.
I will. You know, it's so great because I feel like when I'll start off by saying that like in 2019, when we just got off of the first Wild Darlings retreat in upstate New York, we already had this goal, right? Like we're going to head to a plantation, a former slave plantation, and this is the work that we're going to do. And it took a little bit more explaining to people. And now in 2021, after like,
you don't have to explain.
After the storm, it feels like I explain to people, even people that aren't necessarily consider themselves part of like a spiritual community, they immediately get it. They immediately understand it. And they're just like, wow, that's number one, amazing, and number two, so important. And when you look at, if you look at it on the spiritual, through the spiritual lens, right? Like, why would we go to a plantation? Well, the healing work that needs to happen is obviously happening on an individual level, but it's also happening on this spiritual and ancestral level. And that's like something we all believe wholeheartedly on the team and with the Wild Darlings, that there are so many people, not just tied to the specific plantation land, but the literal land of America, right? That are in need of that healing. And we're hoping to really provide some of that, even if it's in a small amount, to be able to bless the land and hold that real intention of healing for these people that didn't have that opportunity and that were suffering in such an intense way, and that we owe so much to, literally so much to, including our lives. And so that's number one. And then even if you're not looking at it through the spiritual lens, the very basics of that in this country, we've got to stop sweeping shit under the rug, especially when it comes to race, and especially when it comes to the atrocities of what Black people have experienced in this country. And a plantation is just the literal perfect backdrop to have that conversation and to hold space for that conversation. And I think the film is going to be really powerful in that not only is that spiritual work being done through the collective and through the channel that is the Wild Darlings, but just on the very fact that, like, that is a conversation starter. Like, why would a group of Black folks, Black women, go to a plantation to do this work? Because we need to open that dialogue of, like, you can't forget or continue to not acknowledge or hold space for the fact that all of the things that happened on the plantations are still affecting us today, right now, this very second. And we can't really create systems that will benefit all of us if we just continue to ignore it or not hold those people and what they went through in a light, and to acknowledge it and acknowledge them. And so that's really exciting. And I think that's what makes the project really unique. I'm really excited to find the plantation that we're going to be on, but either way, I know it's going to align energetically perfectly for the work that is going to be done there. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, as soon as I asked you that question, like, my eyes watered up, because and I do want to ask what it means, I guess, to the rest of the Darlings as well. But for myself, and I'm from the North, but I guess having spent time in the South and on plantations, and also wishing for so many years that amazing works like I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, or Beloved, whose child was killed on a plantation. Mama cut her throat on a plantation so she wouldn't have to live to become a slave. And so, this film for me is being made in the memory of the countless Wild Darlings that did not make it, countless Wild Darlings strung up and had their babies cut out of their bellies because the master just didn't want another, bastard child, or whatever. The ones that, that gave and or not gave, or violated in their bodies until their bodies couldn't take anymore. And hundreds of thousands, and you're right, in the plantations. Nobody captured that story, even in the Ida B. Wells newspaper, or, the stories of Harriet Tubman. Those stories have not come full screen, and they have not. We just got Harriet's story a minute ago. We're just barely, or the Color Purple. There are ways in which it has been coming toward this. And I just feel like this project is a pivotal turn that just, like, you're right, flings open the door for dialogue and conversation, and that door will never be closed again. Because unlike those other films that I think felt like maybe they didn't know how, or they didn't have the integrity to deal with the level of atrocity, that again, all I have really seen in our work so far has been an absolute amazing balance of the healing that comes, you know, in to address the pain. Whereas I think other people attach this entire subject matter with pain and loss, and it doesn't get any better. And somebody's gonna have to really talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Because the victims of human trafficking, the children coming out of the cages in the border, like we can go again and again over in this generation, how they heal 10, 20 years from now, how society embraces their pain rather than shuns them or tucks them away somewhere and doesn't want to talk about it. And so I definitely feel like somehow we're making a big splash in the pond. This isn't a little trickle with a little pebble. That I think Coyote said it a minute ago, that in a certain way, and I do thank Nova for that. Nova has an amazing bravery about her life and her story. There's just no other way to freaking even cut that down. That she is that transmuter. She is that one that has come through from a darkness and not only has lives that light in her own life, but now through embodied genius, like is actually able to offer that spark to others. And for people to see that is, you know, it makes something like, you know, it gives people hope. It seems like an understatement. But if there are any other darlings that would like to speak to what you envision, maybe what you're thinking about now as the days and months are going by on our way to the plantation, anybody have some edges, maybe? Some uncertain edges, particularly? I've been to a plantation, and let me tell you, the memories in there are haunting, particularly if you are in the slave quarters or you are in the barn or you know what I mean? There's no question, you know what I mean? And they could have cleaned it out, sanitized it, I'm sure, made it COVID safe and all like that, but you'll never move the ghost. You'll never do it. So yeah, I don't know who's on here now. I see people beeping up to the top.
I just wanted to acknowledge that Lisa does have to go. So we've all said bye through the chat.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa. It was so good to have you here with us. We're glad you stopped in.
Yes,
and you can see the rest on YouTube. It'll be up in a couple of days.
Thank you. You know I will.
All right. Love you.
Everyone.
All right. So I don't know what you got to say, dude. What you thinking about for the plantation? Any particular pros, cons? You excited? Kind of edgy?
I'm definitely thrilled to be there. It was also like a peculiar ask when I first heard about it. It seems like an odd place to like desire to be at any point. And like very quickly it grew on me, like this idea of us together as a group of like Black women meeting there. And I always pictured like a ton of more people, like in my mind, there's just like a proper pilgrimage really of folks arriving there. I realized like we're taking every step to be more careful given the current state of things. And I really appreciate that attention to everyone's safety. I think that is like integral to this group too. And regardless either way, it will still be a pilgrimage. There is like, as Floor put, like very, very beautifully, the individual work we're doing, the ancestral work we're continuing, and the spiritual work we're finding there brings together like so many different past lives and desires from so many different people who've been on this land and who have been brought here. And for me also, as someone whose parents are immigrants from a nation that slaves were taken from, I just see like a full circle, something being very, very necessary, maybe even like overdue, I would say. I think the importance of the space really can't be undersold now.
Yeah, you know what movie just came to my mind? It's like I want to make sure, and I think I'm going to take that on as a personal project, like movies that we need to revisit somewhere between here and actually going to the plantation. One was The Secret Life of Bees. Did you see that with Queen Latifah? I read the book, and the book was awesome. But when it actually got to be a movie, I was like, okay, they did that pretty well. They really did. And it incorporates a number of things, you know, race relations and the plight of people of color at the time and women's rights. And it incorporates a number of things. You might not think so from that particular title, but it did, for sure, for sure. So yeah, anybody else want to speak to that plantation piece? You know, the other piece that we haven't mentioned that I also thought of immediately, again, because most of the times that I've gone to a plantation, it has been about some type of healing work. And this is healing work. And no matter whether you have tours there or weddings there or parties there, actually, you don't have girls come in with the bells and the rattles and the candles and all their prayers, you know, ready to do some sacred type of work in a place where the word sacred was hard to find in its heyday. And so I'm really proud to be a part of this for that reason.
I did want to say, I realize also that this project being a film project, we will meet so many of those people who needed to be there with us in whatever way. And that's really exciting that this group will just keep growing digitally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. So Timmy, down in Puerto Rico, what great things did you tap into as we were coming into this launch? I say again, our launch was February 26th, a day of note to everyone here. That Timmy and I came to the world on that day. And who would have thunk it when we first started, I guess around February 12th or 14th, we thought we would already be underway. I never in a million years thought, oh, surely the campaign will just open on your birthday. But it did. So is Timmy still with us? You know, I can only see three all the time.
I'm here.
Oh, and Bree Free is here now with us. Well, there you are.
Yes.
Girl, you made it. And Coyote made it home out of the cold walk. Home. Awesome. And who's that down there in the bottom? That's Danae. Okay, so yeah, we were talking about two things. You can answer either one, but I really kind of want to capture it for the reason that this is going up on YouTube. And when I point people to these conversations, I kind of want to give them a hint as to like, what are some of the conversations you don't hear every day that we happen to be talking about on these Meet the Darling gatherings? One is, in being in this role yourself and doing this healing work yourself, are you very mindful of the other darlings the world over that have not been cast in a film or they have not become characters in a book, that we are also walking a certain role that's way bigger than ourselves, even me as the grandmother or the matriarch in this film? There are tons of matriarchs, I know some of them, that are very frustrated about how do we keep our sons and daughters safe? How do we extract this illness of pedophilia or all of these energies where our children are actually safe? When do we, as the guardians of the younger generations, not have to look over our shoulders, see everybody got their hands in the proper place, everybody in the proper place? So that was one question. And then the other question was whether or not you wanted to speak to why it's significant and meaningful to you that our final production shoot is on a plantation. So I'm going to mute because that'll make it easier. Well, it doesn't want to mute me, but Bree, you want to answer that? She said, no. Why you put me on the spot, Grandma?
No, I don't know.
We hear from you so little, Bree, and you look like Shaka Khan. Boo, you working that thing, girl. Looking fabulous.
Thank you, Grandma Sangoma. Hi, beautiful darlings. I know why I'm so emotional. I guess I do know why I'm emotional. But to speak to the plantation visit, our one of our final destinations. I guess we're gonna have many. I'm very excited to see what comes up, how we're able to hold space for one another and everybody. You know what I'm saying? I I do feel like we should talk about how we are gonna handle it, like emotionally. I'm sure it's gonna be very heavy. I mean, I can only speak for myself right now. I know it's probably gonna be extremely heavy, I'm sure. And I do hope that we can, I don't even know, how do we try to prepare for that? You know, I don't know if these, I am looking forward to finding out how maybe Grandmother Sangoma is gonna lead us, you know, because I look to you, you know, for all this guidance. I have been really concerned with building my relationship with my ancestors and my spirit guides and all of that. And I really feel like it's important for us to talk about the pain that we may feel, you know, although we didn't possibly maybe physically endure a lot of the traumatic experiences, you know, but also dealing with our own trauma, you know, and how we're going to relate this. I'm like, so like, I don't want to say excited, but I am excited to see how we're going to feel as I think that we're gonna pull up, you know, like with the goons, you know what I'm saying, you know, like thugs, you know, like we're ready to really get some shit done. But I'm like interested to see how we're gonna prepare fully, you know, to make sure we are really equipped with the tools that we need to get what we need to get done, you know.
Well, we did start, baby. We're already in. We're already in. But this time last year when we were locked down in Louisiana, we reached out to each of you and said, I need your mother's people. I need your father's people. And so an altar was created. And the purpose of that collective altar being created was so that if we were in a bubble where there were things to, and I have done it with Louisa Tish. And sometimes when you hit a land where things were left laying, and they are waiting for the light of sacred to arrive so that the healing will be complete. Yeah, all of our ancestors, families, committees, spirit guides, they didn't want to get no last minute knock the night before we got to the plantation. We've been giving them offerings and calling them in and calling them to become stronger protectors and guardians of us, knowing that this was the end journey, knowing that we were headed down there. Again, I said to the production team, having watched the film Sankofa with a very good priestess friend of mine, Priestess of Oya, and to see that movie would teach you never to just think you'll go over to Africa on a fashion film shoot and the people will tell you, pose over here by this slave quarter where they kept all the slaves in there on the island of Goree, and think that those ghosts won't rush you, and they did. They moved her back into time. And so I have every confidence. I mean, I was just but I'm glad you asked the question, because it made me think about it as well. It made me think about, that would be a part of our talk and the road trip and how we come together. And maybe when we all get to Mississippi, we won't stay on the plantation the very first night. Maybe we will stay in a hotel so that we can ground some energy of our collective light before we anchor down into tents or anchor down on the plantation. I don't know. I see our humble director, Nova Scott James, over there, and she's always the visionary. What are you thinking, Nova? Do you think that we can just get to Mississippi and kind of jump into the work? Or, as Bree's asking, maybe we need a little, you know, 1 step, 2 step before we get in?
Answer Nova. I do want to share something because I did enter a space where there it was like a slave quarters, and it was in New York, and when I got into the space of the energy was like, you know, I can recall that energy very easily, you know, and it sends me into like a spiral of like, yeah, so I definitely, that's like also what I'm speaking to. Child, I had to, ooh, yeah, go ahead, Nova.
Thanks, Bree. Thanks, Sangoma. I was just typing in the chat. I love that idea of all convening somewhere close by the plantation and really anchoring as a group. I think that's brilliant. And I think that will work super well just in terms of, you know, so that we can get focused, ground, you know, we will have just traveled for, you know, a whole day or 2 days probably, or I guess, yeah. So I think grounding will be great for us, and just really like co-creating and generating the power of the group and like sinking into that, and that'll feel great. And then showing up really super ready and united.
Yeah.
Something to add to that, actually, kind of going off of that idea of like the, you know, the landing space that day and wherever it is, hotel, whatever the case may be, grounding as a collective. And I also hear like, you know, being in a circle and just sharing our own individual tools that we use, because I know that I myself, and I'm quite certain that all of you have you know, acquired different tools in the past and more recently. And I think that like having this expanded little toolkit, like here's what I do when XYZ, so that if there's ever any moment when, you know, we're doing our group thing or we're doing our solo thing, but like in our own little space, we need some support. We either have the option of, all right, let me go, you know, let someone know that I'm going to go take a walk or do a meditation, or actually right now I need, you know, extra support. I need one of my wild darlings there with me, just touching down and really grounding, not only with practice together, but like sharing our tools so that we have just, you know, so much to return to when needed.
Yeah. And Flora really is doing a dynamic job. And I'm that history girl too, that, you know, as we come to the particular properties and to the owners, like we're going to get the whole backstory one way or another. You can go into county records, whatever the owners didn't know when they bought it, even you can go into county records, you know what I'm saying? And because those people were so foolish to think that their pride and ego and status in the world was built on how much property they had, how many Negras they owned, they wrote it down somewhere. So, you know, the numbers of live births or live deaths, some of which were recorded, all deaths weren't always recorded. But so basically what I'm saying to you is we'll definitely have a very good feel for what we are stepping into energetically before we get to, long before we get to the plantation. But yeah, it is kind of exciting for sure. I just love your Shaka Khan, little girl. I did. I took my hair out today. I might have to buy me a Shaka Khan wig, girl. It's so good. What?
You have to make some for us, okay?
I think you have the perfect face, though. You have more of that round face than me for it. You know, they probably just say that's an old lady with a wig on.
Totally a Shaka Khan look. Also, like very SZA vibes.
Oh yeah,
I'm feeling it
You said,
too.
Nova?
I said you're also giving like major SZA vibes.
Oh,
yeah.
girl, I'm about to. I call her my twin sister. Everybody keeps saying I'm sister.
Literally, like twins.
Ooh,
I need to get in a video performance with her. Like, hit her up. Like, I heard I was
have
your
to be in this film. She might have to be in the film. Listen, okay? She might have to be in the film.
You're so cute.
I could see her.
I just want to acknowledge that Bree is emotional and that this is like, I just feel like it's such a appropriate concern, right? And it's such an appropriate like reaction to just even the fact that like you feel emotional when talking about it. It's because like you're being called to do this like huge thing, and it's not easy. And I want to like acknowledge all of you because you're going to show up, not just for yourselves, but for the people that were on that land, for the darlings all over the world that are going to see this, and that, you know, I think a lot of the things we've been talking about, Coyote and Sangoma touched upon this, about like this idea of giving people permission to just feel, right? Like feel anything about how they want to acknowledge or experience their own traumatic experiences or their own wounds. And I think, and I just want to acknowledge that your emotions right now, it just feels so, it feels so real to me, because it's like this string that's been pulling us all to where we're going. Like it's the string that's pulling us. And like Sangoma said, with the altar that she's built for us, and like all the ancestral work everyone's been doing and calling on your ancestors, like that string is pulling you, and your tears are coming out because this pull is like, it's not even a logical thing you can explain, right? It's just like, you know, you're gonna show up, and you know it's gonna, there's ways that you can prepare for it, but you're already you're already beginning to process that. Like, what does that mean that you're gonna show up, and you're showing up in such a big way? And I just want to like thank you all for taking that on, because I do think it is beyond just the 8 of you. I think it's beyond everyone on this team. It's just like, it's part of that string that's like pulling this project along, because there are so many people, this tribe of people that are asking for this, you know? And so I feel emotional, because I'm like, that's a big thing. And it's a big thing to have that responsibility. You have chosen that responsibility. And I do think that's a responsibility that's being called upon you from somewhere else, you know, from a spiritual place, not just like us deciding we're going to get in a car and go to a plantation. I think it really does come from the ancestors. And that's really powerful. So yeah.
You know what, I was just sitting here thinking, I was thinking like in our back, this is like a production team note, in our back thing, just like we just thought and talked about, well, yeah, let's land somewhere close by, but not quite there the first night, get our bearings from a long road trip and everything. It would be good, Flor, when we look at these properties, to see what the distance is to water. If there's a little creek, water that we can go walk to, sit by, or, you know, whether or not like by the 3rd day, we'll, you know, the taping of a culmination or a heaviness, or even if we have the ability to know that something lighter is nearby, that we can get in the vehicles and like, let's take a break from the heavy and the plantation and go do this. and come back. That could be paddling. That could be, the little, I like the little float things, the little, what they call those, the inflatable tire
That'd
things.
be fun.
And you lay and, yeah, you just lay and just relax, let everything go and take the river down. And that'll take away most anything you were thinking about, actually. It just is so soothing to just float on water for a while. But this is that type of work, whereas we knew Blossom Dell had a history as well. Maybe some of us knew it a little more than others, but thankfully, we lived through a little bit of that with one of our dear darlings, and maybe not. We don't know to what degree, if that was hers or what degree was something that came up in the earth where we were shooting. That remains to be seen. Here, there's a real possibility, again, because girls with candles and bells and things don't usually show up at Southern plantations in Mississippi to do, let alone a film, to do any kind of healing work. Even if you had said, oh yeah, for this period between this year and this year, so-and-so group of the Salvation Army used to meet here and sing hymns, or the church used to meet here, then you know that energy has been, already beginning to graduate itself. But if you get one with atheists for owners, and no, they ain't even got a cross on the property, they don't know anything about it, then the chances are likely that we would hit an open portal. But hey, we're good. We got skills, girls. We got so many skills. And with that, I'm going to move back over to Nova, because something came up that I was very excited about, that Six of Wands, and it had to do with the short film, which is getting some attention, or either we're maybe getting ready for it to be distributed. I don't know. There was a part I missed, and I wanted to come back to it, and I wanted to hear from you. So yeah, update us, from the director's chair, what you're excited about almost coming to the end of week 1 in this campaign, Nova.
Well, coming to the end of week 1, and I also actually just want to say, Flora, thank you for speaking that acknowledgement. It was just so beautiful. Just such a beautiful acknowledgement of the work that we're doing. The frequency of what you were saying and the words, I felt so moved and touched by that. And Bree, your tears are healing and beautiful, and I feel moved by that and wanted to share that. And we're coming to the end of week 1 of the Kickstarter, and I think we're 33% funded. So that is a thing to celebrate. Super exciting. And what else? I'm just, as I'm sharing more and more all the time with people about the film and the campaign, I'm having a lot of fun sharing and being in conversation with people about this work and why it's important and why this needs to happen. So I'm celebrating that being fun. I think I spoke the other day about, I was sharing with someone about at a certain point years ago, really dreading fundraising, and it just felt so heavy and awful. And I can take a step back from a spiritual perspective, and also kind of the maybe interesting psychological perspective, and see some really interesting things about what energies were at play, and that's all great information to take in and digest. And now I'm just having so much fun. I've been practicing pleasure and practicing mindfulness with a really true and deep commitment, and that's allowed there to be so much more joy and fun, and showing up to be in conversation with people and not knowing how the conversation is going to end, and being in a dance in the conversation, and also not needing to know how the conversation's going to end, right? And like not being attached to that, and just feeling the freedom and power in that. So so that's exciting. And then we have these amazing events coming up this week and next week, and I'm so stoked about them. And what do we have? So Friday we have the poetry slam. That's going to be so good. And I've been in our group chat, some folks have shared poems that they're going to read, and I've selected 2 poems. And then yeah, so I'm so excited to hear what everyone is going to read. And then Saturday we've got Timmy's shamanic drum journey, which is going to be amazing. So I'm excited to just be a participant in that and share with folks. I shared with some folks who have done a drum journey and other folks who have never done a drum journey. And either way, it's going to be like such a gift and such good medicine. So, so those are our events this week. And then we've got some next week as well.
Yeah, we mentioned the production, you know, as this one closes out, Meet the Darlings next week. I think Saturday, it'll be Meet the Production Team. And I don't know, I always find our conversations very explorative. And now that we even began really landing some production team notes for the plantation shoot around things we want to, you know, think about, it probably will be a really great conversation. And I think maybe you say Abul was going to come, which would be great. I don't think we've even had a chance to interview him. That'll be fun in itself to have him appear and chat with us. And so once again, for those of you that are not sure, this is the Wild Darlings Sings the Blues, More Than a Movie, a Movement campaign. And we are almost a week into our fundraising and the wonderful events that Nova was just speaking about and that we were speaking to. You want to save the date. You just go into the Kickstarter campaign and you get to see this awesome friggin' video that I just love so much. And you get to see a calendar of those very events we're talking about. We didn't itemize or go back over. I think we asked Floor to do a little research. I'll go into it. It's like looking at my own Amazon wish list to see which ones of our rewards that all the darlings have put in. I think I'm doing your sister's reading. So there's one that's gone that we're excited about. And we've got more to go. There are still plenty of rewards in there. And, you know, one thing that I said to someone, maybe it was Lisa, I was asking her to watch that video that I'm still impressed with. I'm impressed with the whole video, but I have been a part of a lot of fundraising campaigns and a lot of Kickstarters, and I've never, ever seen an acknowledgement for where your dollars are going. So I want to make that a very clear statement on this particular video and recording that, yep, movies are fun. I've been on sets for them. Again, you don't just walk on as the extra of a film and say, hey, let me see your budget, you know? And so for our director to take even a bit of time to give those who are giving to us an idea of where that money is really needed and really being used. And, you know, we are not the Marvel Universe, so this is not by any means an extravagant budget. Floor, man, shakes those numbers down every time you just ask her to, and it's a wonderful thing. You know, math is not my lane, but she does it. And we're beginning to juggle as we move forward. And I think I, you know, as we're winding down to the last 10 minutes, we want to give everybody an opportunity to give us some closing thoughts here. My closing thoughts, Kickstarter is all or nothing. Okay, I just want to put out there that while we have every confidence, it doesn't mean that you should stop sharing when you see our things go by. Grab it, share it out to your friends in your communities. We've got tarot readings every day on Instagram, which has got to be some real good fun. And look for our events because they're unique, because they just don't happen every day. So yeah, any closing thoughts as we're winding down our little 90 minutes together here?
I will say that I want to shout out Nova, who is taking huge leaps in having those conversations to raise money for this project. I know it's like really not easy, but the way that you've been able to approach it, it's why we've been able to garner so much support. And it really made me look at my own like resistance to trying to raise money, and just being like, oh, I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to, it's been hard. It's been a hard year for everyone. And so I've acknowledged that even when I've asked people, I'm like, it's been really challenging for me to kind of ask right now. And in that acknowledgement, it actually kind of, it like breaks the ice, right? Where I'm just like, oh, okay, like we don't have to, you either can contribute or you can't. And I don't have to like feel any kind of shame or fear about asking for help, because I believe in this project like 1,000,000%. And I feel like, I just think that's been a really cool part of that process for me too, where I was just like, wow, Flora, you really have issues with like asking people for money or support, but like, why, when you're like serving this much higher purpose? And so looking at it that way, it's been really helpful. And so I just want to acknowledge Nova, because she's really helped me get there. She's been flexing those muscles of just like, hey, we're really serving this higher purpose, and every dollar, even if you just donate $1, you're part of that journey with us, and you're part of that energetic container that gets us there, and that holds this and makes all this possible. And it's and so thank you to everyone who's donated so far, and for all of those yet to donate, you have 3 weeks, and we would really appreciate your contribution.
Mm-hmm. Stimulus checks are coming, is what I say to folks. You have a little extra change. Isn't it funny how the ancestors did that? You just lined it up right where this thing is not even going to close, till them checks are in the mailbox. And so, it could be big or little for you, but for sure, those that just say, oh, I got so far in debt with the pandemic, everything, I can't do anything. But I'm telling you, I am impressed by the number of people that, whether they are given dollars or not, they are moving our information out into communities where those dollars are, or I just feel held by that. I am, that's when I know that friendships are treasured. They are treasured. They are not just people giving lip service to being your friend. They are people that, like Lisa coming on tonight and saying, hey, well, I don't know what it was, but I know if Sangoma's in it, I better check it out. And that's a good thing. And as what you're saying with Nova, I think that's a face of us that we have kind of made each other stronger to do it. Maybe we were a little resistant or a little shy a minute ago, but it's kind of like, I know at that point where we were wrestling with how much, what our goal was going to be. And just Nova hung in her black girl magic, man. She just kept hanging in it. And then it started rolling in. Those pledges started rolling in. She said, watch my magic, watch my smoke. You ain't got no excuse. You either get your magic wand out or go home. Go big or go home. And it was a level of enthusiasm that made me feel better and not as nervous. You know what I mean? Because I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to go hands down, way over the court. You know what I mean? And more than that, like a lot more people who didn't even know that this project existed a minute ago will be informed. And how good is that for a Women's History Month, for a March? It's really a good thing. Yeah. Last thoughts before we go, anyone? Because I can only see a few of you, so I can't see anybody else raise up. So you just have to start talking. If I go that way, I go back to my email. The phone is acting so weird tonight.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you too. All right, Shaka Khan, you can, send me that glamour look and a photo, girl, so I can just remember it for a minute. It was beautiful, really. The whole lipstick, everything. Impressive, Bree. Yeah, girl, that's one of them real serious looks on you. Nia, you take care. Keep going forward over there in Texas. We praying for you. Dude's already left us. Danae, excited to see you. Coyote is always totally excited. So glad to have us all here, and we put a hug out there for Big J, who I think said she was working till 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight, and so she didn't get to chime in with us. We'll catch you on the next time. All right. Poetry Dram. I gotta go. You know, I think I got the right two, but I'm gonna double check it. I'm so excited about our poetry slam on Friday. All right, y'all take care.
Y'all, love y'all.
Love you
Love
guys.
y'all later.
Bye.
Good night.